Hello. Happy
Thanks.
Thursday. Yes, boss. Happy Thursdays. Happy Thursday, my loves. How's everybody doing? Welcome to our May's live stream episode of Open Hearted. We're very excited to be here. If this is the first time you ever catch us live, we do these monthly lives every single month. This year we started in January, and I do this with my king. This is Jordan.
Hola. ¿Qué tal?
He always wants to pretend that he speaks Spanish, but he's gringo as fuck.
En nuestro departamento nuevo.
Yes!
Puedo hablar en español, sí.
Sí, yeah, he can speak Spanish. Anyways, this is the first live that we do from our, hola Liz, from our new apartment, from our new place. We moved in together literally last week. Today is 1 week from the official move. And we're very excited celebrating the first week with this live stream all about polarized relationships. Polarity in relationships. How do we do this? All right. I hope you're ready because this one is going to be nice and juicy and steamy, and we're going to bust a lot of misconceptions that are there around this topic. So, polarity in relationships. What does it mean? Why do we need it, right? So basically what we're going to talk about is the embodiment of feminine and masculine energies in the relationship. And this goes beyond gender roles, any societal, what's the word I'm looking
Norms.
for? Norms, yeah. Or stereotypes, right? Like we're going to really touch on what it truly means embodying feminine and masculine energy and how we can dance between those energies within ourselves and in the interaction with our partners, right? So, what does polarity means to you, babe?
Yeah. So first, excited to do this live stream and talk about this subject because I didn't even really know what polarity was until this relationship. I think I became more aware of polarized energy and how it manifests in a romantic scenario. So for me, my definition of polarity is the duality of energy and how it shifts in a relationship dynamic. So that would look like from one pole being on the masculine side, on one pole being on the feminine side, which have certain traits or characteristics that I think we want to be careful not to assign them based on stereotype, but to assign them based on natural flow and order of our essence, right, as humans, but also as divine creatures. So weaving in and out, like from a very simple perspective, like thinking of it like magnets, because magnets have opposite energetic attraction, positive and negative ions that come together and bring people closer, or bring themselves closer. So for people, what that's felt like for me is being with a woman who's extremely feminine in her ability to tap into her feminine desires, her feminine being, her feminine essence, but to also have a really healthy relationship with her masculine. Because all of us have a feminine and a masculine energy inside of us, a yin and a yang. So the more that we know about how we can create polarity in our relationships, the better that we can show up for our partner, the better that we can show up for ourselves, the better we can show up for the world. So did that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. And I love that. And I want to add that literally in short, what polarity will help you in your relationship with is to create more attraction. Because if both people are in one, like in the feminine, or both are in the masculine, this sameness kills the attraction. It's just like there is no attraction. For the attraction, there has to be like this polarity, right? That's what we want to create. And from here is where the hotter, deeper sex is created, and even like the everyday dynamic of this, there has to be this differentiation, right, in the energies. And how do I become more feminine?
That's my friend Fadila.
Yeah.
Hey Fadila.
Hi, Fadila. Okay, we're gonna touch on that in a moment. Like in this conversation, I'm going to share a lot about how to embody your feminine in your relationships, in your everyday life, which evokes the masculine in your partner, in your dates. So something that I want to really leave really clear here is that we are not, this applies for even same-sex relationships. I've been in a same-sex relationship, and the polarity dynamic still applies.
It still exists,
right?
yeah.
It exists. So this is about the dance of the feminine and masculine energy, right? And how to apply this. Okay, so something that I wanna remind you of is that the playing with polarity and having this in mind in your relationship is not to put you in a box. This is not to keep you in labels, right? Like, oh, because I'm the woman, I am the feminine only, and I have to be my feminine all the time, and I have to surrender and force myself to surrender, because surrendering is actually a power and a superpower, right? So I'm gonna be here, and it's my job just to be surrendered and receiving, and you're the masculine, so you take the action, like I don't want you to use this or to subconsciously go into limitation, but I want you to see this as expansion, and you will see how expansive this can actually be.
I think going along with that, this isn't about gender roles, especially not in the sense of stereotypical gender roles placed on us by our society, but again, going back to the divine versions of masculine and feminine energy, which are dualistic in every single one of us. It's about being able to tap into those, and that's one of the things I feel like is hard, is like really even just identifying what within me is feminine, what within me is masculine. Maybe you can speak to like how to identify that first before we go into any, or how you would categorize an action or a state of being as either masculine or feminine.
Okay, I think doing the work about your own feminine and masculine energies is fundamental for this, in order to apply this. So we both came into this relationship, and this is the most polarized relationship we've ever had for both of us. And I think that the fundamental work in this is that we both have individually done that work on our own feminine and masculine energies, right? So I think that is something very important, and that's why I always mention this. The work always begins within us, right? If you want to create a conscious, beautiful, amazing relationship, it comes from it takes two conscious people that have an amazing relationship within themselves. And if you're embodying polarity within yourself, if you're embodying a union within yourself, that will allow you to also bring it in your relationship. So it's always very important that you know, this doesn't mean that you have to master polarity and union within yourself before feeling like you can have that in a relationship. Again, it's not a limitation, but it's an invitation for you to continue to do the work within yourself. This is a constant ongoing work. Right? So
just to bring some clarity from us, like summarizing what you've said, just to make sure that I understand, is that when you think about having a polarized relationship, or having a relationship that is healthy in its dynamic, both people are willing to share and be open and vulnerable within their masculine and feminine energy, that prerequisite to that even being able to happen is both people having worked on each of those things within themselves. So for me, what that's looked like is being part of men's groups, for instance, where I'm with other men who are able to tap into their feminine energy and share, for instance, with other men, or they're also tapping into their healthy masculine energy of holding space for other men. So that was something that for me became a really big spiritual practice, to be able to access both masculine and feminine energy. And the part of this that's really interesting is that it's a spectrum, and it can be very dynamic, where one day I'm very much in my masculine in our relationship, doing structuring our day, like providing the leadership, whatever it is. She's being in her surrender. She's being in a place where she can receive fully, which is her feminine, and that's great. But then it can change totally in the same dynamic that same day, to where there's something that I need to receive and I need to step back, and she steps into a healthy masculine for herself. So there is a really big dynamic to this, and I think it goes back to what polarity is not, from our experience, which we can only speak for ourselves, but it's not like fixating ourselves in boxes. It's not looking at this as just a binary, but a spectrum. It's not limiting this by gender and by gender roles. It's looking at essence, and really like where you're divinely coming into this world. Like, all of us are divine creatures that have all of this within us and have everything that we ever need. So it's really been a gift for me to be able to do that. And I know that you have some practices that you've done that have allowed you to live in both of those.
Yeah, the work that has really helped me create more polarity in my relationship is having that healthy relationship with my own feminine and with my own masculine.
Probably even more so with your masculine at times, because that's like when you're a woman who's in a heterosexual relationship, then the wounding that you have in your masculine is going to be mirrored by the partners that you choose.
It creates this shields. It creates a lot of armors, and that's why a big part of my work is helping women heal that relationship with their own inner masculine, so they can have a better relationship also with the anything that is quote unquote external, which is at the end of the day all one. But yeah, the foundational work for me has been healing my own relationship with my inner man, with my inner masculine, with the masculine, and knowing that how to embody healthy masculine myself, because that is something that I see time and time again. Okay, so there are a lot of the times women are like, if you're anything like me, you've been operating in this distorted masculine energy for most of your life, right? Like, most women, I would dare to say every woman has masculine wounds to a certain extent, to some shape or form. So a lot of the times this manifests as like coming in a very hyper masculine patterns, right? Always being like a leader and doing and prioritizing productivity, and there is nothing wrong with that. It's beautiful, especially like if you are successful in your career. That really helps us to be successful in what we do, in your entrepreneurship, like in your business, so it's amazing. The issue comes when being in those patterns is your only comfort zone, and you're not able to soften into your feminine, which is needed when you come into your relationship, right? So for instance, in my business, I'm mostly in my masculine. Yeah, I know how to lead from my feminine. I lead from heart. I lead from truth. I lead with my intuition. It's very feminine, but at the end of the day, I'm very much in my masculine. I'm holding space for my clients. I'm at the front lines talking to people, and this is very masculine energy. But then where the work has been important is when I come into my relationship, and then remembering that, that is not my main role to lead. Not usually. Again, it's always a spectrum. It varies every day and according to the situation, but it's not my role to lead. In the past, I didn't know how to do this switch, and I would be leading trying to lead in my relationships, like making all the decisions, dressing my partners, deciding every single thing from what we're gonna eat to where we're going for vacations to planning the whole vacation, you know, all that kind of thing. And it was because, one, I'm good at those things, and secondly, it was because I could not trust my partners to do so. And a lot of the times, women come to me and say, "Oh, but what if he's not good at it?" And I'm like, a lot of the times it's an assumption. The armor, the wound prefers to say, "He's not good at it, so I'll do it myself." Mm. But what has really helped me in this relationship is, okay, I'm gonna trust that he can do it. I'm gonna trust him. And remember that the man, your man or the guy that you're dating, you can come and assume that he will do the best he can if you give him the space to do it. One of the things that attracted me the most about Jordan when we started dating was his leadership, how he was creating the plans. You know, I was like, I love surprises, and the first dates he would plan every single thing, and it was a beautiful initiation for me to surrender, because I didn't even ask, you know. Of course I wanted to know, but I was like, I'm gonna use these opportunities to surrender and to trust. And you know, probably in the past I would have been like, no, I need to know every detail. Where are you gonna take me, and where are you gonna, you know, I wanna know. But this was a beautiful initiation. But for that to happen, I had to give him the permission and the space to lead, right? So that is very important for you to remember as a woman. So something what I want to go into, and I would love for you to talk on and to speak on this, babe, is how in a relationship actually you can invite, you can initiate your man to step up, invite him to step up into his highest expression of masculine energy. And it's the same, like we can both initiate each other. He initiates me to be in a higher expression of my feminine. How do you feel that I've ignited you to your masculinity?
Yeah, I think it goes back to both of us having needed to do a lot of work before being in this relationship individually. So the amount of personal work that we've needed to do before being in this relationship is astounding to me. To be ready for this relationship, and then also to attract this type of relationship. So I think when you're able to take that upon yourself, first and foremost, to focus on how can I personally be the one who attracts this type of polarized energy in my life, by being able to understand both those energies in myself, like that to me is the first step, right? And that's what she did very well, is because Eliza was able to access both her feminine and masculine energy in very healthy ways, and was able to communicate. Like when I first met her, I could tell within the way that she communicated, she would drop these hints of what she wanted, and those hints would require me to step into a masculine frame of supplying leadership, planning, whatever it was. And for me, like, I'm already planning on doing those things, but I could tell and pick up on the energy that she was giving out, that kind of thing was really important to her as well. And then I noticed this subtle shift of trust, like that was given right away, like her ability to trust me and surrender to me. Now obviously women have a very difficult experience with this, because there are shitty men out there too, and there's never any invalidation that I would do around, you know, scumbags, you know. But there is something to say about energy, and when you feel that energy, and allowing yourself to make a distinction between where am I protecting myself based on this is an actual threat, and this is someone that is not good, and I can read up on that energy, versus this is someone who I'm creating these walls because I'm scared of their masculinity and like how strong that they are. Yeah. So fortunately enough, she gave that trust to me very early on, and I think that if I hadn't proved myself, she would have taken that away. I mean, she would have not enabled that in me. But over time, what happened was she would continue to have these what we call initiations, right? She had mentioned initiations. I think that's a great word for it, right? Because basically we're just constantly initiating each other into the energy that we want to feel from the other person. So
can I make a note on that?
Yeah.
Thank you. So, hi Jay. So Jay said it's a tricky one when with a new person, and this is like where most women stumble upon, and they're like, oh, well, how do I know if I can trust him? Like, how can I trust him from the beginning? And here is why healing your own inner masculine is so important. That's why it's so important from the beginning, because from the very beginning, if you are embodying as a woman healthy masculine, not only healthy feminine, but you're healthy masculine, this will let the man know, you know,
there's boundaries.
Exactly.
Yeah. I could tell immediately with her there was going to be boundaries within what I
was setting boundaries with him from the beginning, before we met in person, you know. So when you do this, what happened? Oh yeah, it's fine. So that's why it's so important. You as a woman, you're embodying healthy masculine, and you're like, okay, this is an example. I think we mentioned it in another one of our lives, but I said he was like trying to get to know me. He was showing this interest, like gaining points. Like he was making these amazing questions. But then I don't really like being on my phone, like messaging all day with someone that I haven't even met in person.
We hadn't met yet.
Right. So he was making all these questions. We knew he wasn't in the same city. We were gonna wait until we met in person. And I said, you know what? I appreciate this, but I really don't want to be doing this messaging back and forth. Can we wait, right? So that was like my healthy masculine.
Wait. I don't think that's exactly how it happened.
Okay, that's the essence of it.
I think it's actually really important to make a small distinction. What she said was, I don't really like to be on my phone and be messaging back and forth like this, especially with someone I haven't met yet, right? She didn't say like let's wait. Like she didn't give me she didn't tell me what to do. Exactly. She just set a boundary of what that was, and then my interpretation of that boundary was, okay, amazing. And then I laid out the structure, and I told her, I said, perfect. That's totally fine. I respect that. I'm super busy the next week or two. It was maybe a week and a half until we were going to be in the same city. I was like, let's take the next week and a half and just enjoy this space because we're both really busy. And once we're in, like, save this energy instead of leaking the energy from messaging back and forth, and let's just build up that excitement and anticipation to meet in person. And I'll plan, you know, like a day or two before, I'll confirm what our plans are, and I'll do a surprise for us, and I'll plan the whole date, and it'll be a lot of fun.
Sure.
You know, how does that sound?
So the way he received my boundary, even he used that comment that, you know, he used that to take the leadership. It's true. I apologize for that. It's true because I set the tone, the guidance with my boundary. And the way he took it, I was like, this is a man that I can trust. He is honoring my boundary. If he had been unhealthy, masculine, toxic masculinity, he would have been weird about it. So that's why I always tell my clients, set your boundary from the very beginning. Your boundaries, your non-negotiables, say them from the very beginning. And the way a man receives a boundary from the feminine says a lot about the man. It says so much, right? So my belief is that because I am embodying healthy masculine myself as a woman, I attract healthy masculine in men too, you know? So I was literally, like, when women say, like, where are the kings and where is the healthy masculine? I can see them, you know. I was attracting all the kings before I met my king. And it was, I have this belief that I attract that because the healthy masculine recognizes the healthy embodiment, the divine masculine in me, and the divine feminine, of course, right? So that is a very important thing. And so, you know, I knew I could trust him, and then everything comes. That's how you know. In that piece of trust, I think, like, yeah.
Can I pull out a few things from that?
Sure.
So, to Jay specifically, you asked this question. One, it's really tough. It's naturally very tough to tell someone, you know, like your question was, it's tricky with a new person to understand. But there are ways that we can go about this that make it easier. So the first one is having those energies within yourself really clear and worked on, right? Like focusing on how do I create healthy masculine and feminine energy. My own polarization within myself is solid, right? Then it's belief systems. It's like, I believe because I have healthy masculine and feminine energy that I only attract healthy within the other people, right? So if you've done the work and you believe in yourself and what you're attracting, then you will start to see that. And there will be times when you're initiated in some way where it gets thrown back in your face and you meet someone who's not, and it's up to you to set the boundaries that determine that like weed that person out or qualify that person. So then you're like learning what the boundaries are, and you're learning how to set the boundaries. Through that entire process is how polarization at the very beginning of a relationship can be established and can be understood, and then you can find that match or disqualify that match like way sooner than maybe you would have done before.
Yeah, absolutely. And as the feminine pole in your relationship, if you want to initiate the masculine, going back a little bit on that point that we were saying earlier, if you want, in order to invite him into higher masculine, I lost my train of thought. What was I gonna say?
Inviting into the higher masculine.
I lost it for a moment.
Initiations.
I was listening to you and then I was okay. It will come back. It will come back. Anyways. So
take a breath.
Yeah.
Breathing's good. Everybody take a breath with us.
All right. Oh yeah. It's
there
thank
you go.
Thank you. So this is something that I love applying in the dating life, that I was really applying, and I continue to apply in my relationship. In order to invite your man or your date to step into his higher masculine, assume that he wants to do it. Assume the best in him, right? Because when we're acting from the wound, we're like, oh, he doesn't know how to lead me. He doesn't know how to make plans for us. I have to do it myself. You know, we fall into this, but that we're talking from the wound. But I invite you to do it assuming that he wants to do the best. And assume that he is a divine. The divine masculine isn't everyone. Just some people have forgotten about it, right? And same with the divine feminine. So if you go with the assumption, but here is the caveat, yeah. Assuming the best in your man or in your new date, for instance, if it's the first time you meet someone. It's not about overriding your intuition. If there is something that says this man is not trustworthy, like listen to that too, right? That's why it's so important to cultivate your trust in yourself and your intuition, and trust your intuition really, right? But it's not about overriding that. But what if I go with this assumption that he is conscious, divine, masculine, right? And if you expect the best, healthy expectation, right? If you expect the best, you will get the best.
I think there's just so much nuance.
Yeah,
in this
absolutely.
too.
Absolutely.
Like there is a level of nuance in this that is ridiculous to try to understand, and that's why it takes so much of your personal practice within yourself to get to a place where you feel comfortable making these judgment calls based on your intuition. Pretty much all the issues that we've had within our relationship, within your triggers and the way that you've reacted and me getting triggered back, has been because of an assumption of intent, where it's like I can feel this wounded energy from her, where like her assumption is that I'm doing something with a bad, like not a bad intent, but because, you know, for some reason I wanted this to be a certain way. But typically, like she said, it's like I've just forgotten. Like we get so disconnected as humans to that divine version of us, where I need to be initiated and reminded about like what my true essence is. And if she's coming from it from a place of lack and like, why aren't you doing this? Like, does this mean that this and this in our relationship isn't this? And you start going down those wormholes. Like, that's how you can tell you're also in a wound too, is if the way in which you're assuming intention from your partner is not in good faith or is bad. I don't know if you want to speak to that, but I know I kind of dragged it into this, but it had a lot to do with what you said, because the times in which we've resolved conflict really easily, and it's more often than not that we do, it's when the person who's bringing up the conflict is coming from really high assumption of the other person. Like, I assume that the way that they meant to do this had nothing to do with me, and it was in good faith, and like, of course they're trying to serve me and serve themselves. And all the times we get into conflict, it's like assuming that you did something because of XYZ reason.
Absolutely. It helps you a lot, like, bring this awareness. What are you assuming in your partner or in your date already? What assumptions are you making already? And this is going to give you a lot of clarity on why are you attracting what you're attracting. Let's say if you continue to attract a toxic dynamic or a certain type of men or women that you are really not interested in, or that's something that is not aligned, look at what you're assuming about your partners and the people that you're dating. So I think it would be helpful to go into, if you have any questions, by the way, any comments, anything that is landing for you, give us some hearts, let us know in the comments. We love to know what is landing for you. And hola diosa tantrica. So I think it would be really helpful to go into some examples of how we apply polarity to increase magnetism, to increase attraction in our relationship. We're gonna talk about some everyday examples and some more in-depth situations, because here's where I really want to dismantle some wrong beliefs, misconceptions around polarity. Okay, so knowing who is the feminine and the masculine pole in the relationship, going back to it's not a label, it's not a box. Okay, so because there is a lot of the times, even if I'm the feminine in my relationship, there is a lot of the times where we switch, right? It's probably, what do you think is the percentage of the time that we are in feminine masculine?
80-20?
80-20 probably, yeah. About 80-20 I would say. But there are a lot of situations where it switches, and the most important thing is what energy you are coming from. I will give you an example. In the bedroom, it's when I was in my wounded masculine, in my armored heart, and in the past, I would be most of the time taking control in the bedroom, but the energy behind it was my wound was, I can't trust, I can't surrender, I can't let go of control. I need to know what is happening, how it's happening.
It's all about control.
I decide, exactly, right? All about control. Now, the times when I take the lead in the bedroom, it comes from an entirely different energy. It's because I'm in a, for example, a co-worship session. It's devotion. I'm doing this. It's coming from, this is a devotion session, and my man will take the role of the feminine, quote unquote, because he will be receiving my devotion, right? But the energy is still, he is the masculine. I'm worshiping him. I'm worshiping him from my feminine, but I'm leading.
That's it's also tough for men, I think, too, because as a man who would be used to being in control of the sexual situation, me being the one initiating, doing all these things, you have to redefine what you're capable of doing if it's that I'm not in control. So, oh shit, like I'm getting, like I want her to do this, I want her to do this, and it's a really great lesson in life. Like it's a microcosm of lessons for life, where if you can just sit back and give full trust, be in full reception mode, it can really change the dynamic of how you receive life and how you surrender to life, because we none of us can control anything, right? Like we go through life and change happens and things happen, and we're basically just constantly reacting to whatever's being put in front of us. And so in this particular example in the bedroom, when she takes the lead and I can just sit back and like let that happen, it's really changed my life and my ability to like do that in the world. And I think I think you've talked about this in the past as well. It's like the bedroom and how you act in the bedroom is kind of a mirror to what happens in life. So if you feel like you constantly need to be in control, if you're anxious, or whatever it is, it's gonna be mirrored out in your daily life. So I think that's a great example, and my ability to be able to receive has just opened up a lot of things in my life as a man too.
Absolutely. So more everyday examples that you can think of.
Yeah, other everyday examples are, well, now that we live together, I think there's also a different dynamic in our relationship where we are cultivating a family, a home, like having a dog. Like I didn't have a dog until this week, so now there's a dog involved in my life. I've had a dog before, but dogs are a lot of responsibility, and so there may be things like scheduling and planning the week. Now that we're together all the time, it does, just because we're in the same apartment doesn't mean that we're having intentional time together. It's like, hey, I'm going to be working from this time to this time, and then we're going to have a meal together, and then we're going to have this together. She really appreciates when I come forward with that schedule so that she knows when she's going to get quality time. Because for me, like, being around her all day is like great for me. Like, it's like awesome. Like I do love connecting, but my connection needs and my need for quality time, which is like within my love language, is very low. Her is very high. So we are coming up with systems to where I can step into my masculine, I can be a leader, and I can also build the schedule of like, here are the ways that we're gonna have quality time together. Here are the times in which I'm gonna be working. Here are the times I'm gonna be there, and I'll take the dog too, and there'll be times where she'll step into that in some sort of planning for the house as well. And maybe that's going and getting the groceries or working with the cook to make sure everything gets cooked, or making sure that the design, like when we first moved in, she was starting to make a lot of decisions around like how things should be designed in here. If we're going to be here for a number of months, she wants it to look a certain way. So among the leadership and decision making and like structure, planning and things like that, like we take turns. Like I'm gonna be from a macro level doing more of the stuff around the planning, because she loves to just step in and like receive that kind of planning. But on like a micro level and like everyday little things, like there are a lot of decisions that she makes that really help me too. Even just like what I'm wearing at times. Like if we're gonna go out to a really nice dinner, I mean, we're in Playa del Carmen. Like to me, it's like I can wear a tank top and feel fine at pretty much anywhere. Or like a jersey, and then she sees me walk out of the closet, she's like, no. And over time, what we realized was her stepping into a masculine energy and providing guidance on what I should wear was actually a better dynamic that would help me, and I was requesting it. I was like, hey, like, I know this is way more important to you than it is to me. I would love for you to tell me between 2 or 3 options what you would recommend I wear based on what you're going to wear. Yeah. And that opens up, that's an initiation for her to change her patterns and how she's been in the past. I'm sure she wants to talk about that.
Yeah, actually that is this example. I'm glad you brought it up because I have something to say about that. So it's different. Again, I really want to emphasize the importance of the energy that you do things from, right? It's like, if you're already doing this work, which most of you are, is you know that mothering your partner is the least attractive energy, right? We don't want to mother our partners. You as a woman, you don't want to mother him. But it's very different to use your healthy what am I saying? To use or to embody your healthy feminine energy, which is nurturing, which is, adding that element of beauty and nurture and softness. It's very different from mothering. Mothering is like the wounded side of that, the shadow side, right? So I had a little bit of an issue whenever he asked me, what should I wear? Do you like this? And I was holding myself back a lot because I know that in the past I had this pattern of mothering my partners. I was telling them, even buying their clothes, telling them what to wear, all that kind of thing. But it was coming from a place of, he doesn't know, he's stupid for fashion, I need to tell him what to do because he doesn't know how to do it about clothes, So I was coming from that energy and, more like I'm mothering them. So when now in this relationship, when he asked me, I was like, oh, I don't want to be telling him what to wear. I don't want to be mothering him, But then we literally had a conversation about this, and I said, okay, how can we make this in a way that it feels good for both of us, that is healthy? And he clarified to me, I value your opinion on what I'm wearing. You have a better sense of fashion, and this is more important to you.
And just, she's going to be wearing something. So, like, for her, depending on what she wears, there's something complimentary that I'm going to wear. And, like, in her head, that all makes sense. But for me, I'm like, yeah, I got whatever I was wearing earlier today, right? It's fine. Yeah. And what it can imply, you end up changing 4 times a day anyway. So yeah. I'm on my fifth shirt of the day, and but she's chosen it, and it takes the decision. Like, I don't want to be spending mental energy making that decision. Like, to me, it's a waste of time for my mental faculties. But for her, it's important. So I'm going to delegate that decision to the person who actually cares, and then we both get what we want out of the situation. And it's done from an energy that's like, I'm willing to receive. I'm willing to, like, step into a place where I'm not going to take anything personally about what she's going to say or what she's going to do. And it's the same with her. She gets to step into a more masculine place of structuring and planning and, like, giving me the recommendation. Yeah, absolutely. So I have another example that I would like to share. This is a deeper example. This is something that literally we just experienced last week, and this is going to help you a lot as a woman. And also, you can take this as if you're the masculine pole, on how to invite and initiate the other person to have the difficult conversation when you're not receiving what you want, right? So we had the plan to move in last week, just like we did, right? But a couple of days before, I was like freaking out a bit, and I was, thinking, I was feeling a certain unease about moving in together. Then when I looked into that, it was because we had planned just to stay for a couple of months in this place and then move. He's gonna travel. Without going too much into the details, I just felt a little bit of instability there in the moving, and then where am I gonna be when he goes
away for a month and this kind of thing. So I could see how going into the old pattern, a part of me wanted to say, oh, I'm not feeling safe, let's not move in yet. Let's not do this. He's not providing safety, like that would be my old pattern. He's not providing enough safety and stability, and I'm not receiving this, so he's not giving me what I want. He doesn't deserve that I live with him. This is not safe,
Even though she
blah,
asked.
blah, blah.
Even though she asked.
Okay, that's a conversation for another day.
Okay.
But the point here is that I see time and time again women saying like, oh, he's not providing the leadership, so he's not a healthy masculine, he's not a conscious cock, I'm not gonna date him. He's not giving that, so no, he's not good. And then, but I want to remind you that as a woman, you have the power to initiate him into his highest expression of masculinity. So what I did, instead of going into that old pattern, I prepared, and I tapped into assuming that he wants to give me exactly what I need and then some. So from that energy, I had a conversation with him, and I was like, you know what, I am feeling this. I said exactly what I was feeling. I talked from my heart. I spoke my truth, and you can tell how the conversation went. And how
the way that she, okay, so just to recap too and clarify a little bit, we were going to move in together. There's like a couple month span that we're going to move into this place, and then I'm going to be traveling for a month, and the real issue was what's going to happen during that month that I'm gone. Is she going to stay here? Is she going to move in a new place? And like, how am I contributing financially to that? And then, what's going on with the dog? And there's a lot of logistics, and for her, one of her biggest needs is safety and feeling safe in the relationship, as is for most.
That's the feminine one.
As in for most females, right? Is like, do I feel safe in this relationship? Do I feel like I'm supported?
It's the number one.
And there was a comment that I had made offhand that I wasn't really even thinking about it. I was just like, oh yeah, well, like, I don't really want to pay rent for that month that I'm not here. And to me, it wasn't about like I'm saying it one way, thinking in my head that it means, well, of course I'll still contribute, but let's find a smaller place for you for that month. And I didn't say any of this, but in my head that's what's happening. And then in her head she's like, oh man, well, like, I'm not safe now, like, you're not going to take care of me, you're not going to be this. So like both of us are like going in between assumptions about things that are unsaid. And then I was just really impressed with her, because when she had processed all that and came back to me with the conversation, it was very disarming. Like, she comes into things and she says, she texted me beforehand and said, hey, can we have a conversation about the living situation? Just know that I love you and I still want to do this. I just want to talk about a few things. And I was like, okay, yeah, no problem. Let's do it. And to me, it was like, thank you. You sent that message before the conversation rather than like surprising me with a conversation. And then when we started having the conversation, she just explained at the top, like, here are the needs, like, here are the things that I've been feeling based on that conversation that we had previously. Here are the needs I have, and here's why I'm not feeling that. And it's really important for me, if we're going to move in together, to like really feel that. And it just, when she said, yeah, it initiates you as a man, it's like, oh, like, I see my role. I see my role so clearly. And she's able to do that only by being able to tap into like those healthy parts of herself. And the way in which you communicate and the way in which you say things is so important in those situations, because even if you have the best intentions but you don't actually prepare what you're going to say and you don't actually think about how the other person's going to receive it, it can turn into an against match, right? Where we're against each other and someone needs to win and all those types of things. So the way I felt it was like a request to be a team. Like, that was what I felt it as. Like, hey, Jordan, like, we're a team, right? I'm like, yeah, of course. She's like, I need to feel like we're on a team. And I was like, oh, I can see how you didn't feel that we were on a team because of what I said. Here's what I meant, and here's some extra security. Like, we're good. And pretty much immediately, like, she got what she needed out of it. I got what I needed out of it as far as knowing where I need to lead and be more communicative. And yeah, it kind of put an extra spark, an extra fire in me to really like follow that that role that I have in the relationship of creating safety.
Yeah, and something that I want to mention about that is like these conversations are hard, are uncomfortable, because there is this part of me that the feminine wants to feel safe, right? This is the most important thing, to surrender to the masculine. So I was not feeling the level of safety that I require to be in the full surrender. But instead of going into, he's not giving me what I want, so fuck him, right? Like, which I would have done before. I was like, okay, I know I'm safe because I got myself. First and foremost, going back to healthy masculine embodiment as a woman, right? So I know I'm safe, and I'm gonna assume, applying the assumption, I'm gonna assume that my man wants to give me exactly what I want. So I'm just gonna ask for it, and that's like high communication skills, like the high value woman embodiment. My program, Quantum Dating, that's where you learn this. So I expressed and I talked from my heart rather than from my wound, and it was so easy, so easy. He literally, like, that uncomfortable at the beginning, and then, but after that 20-30 minute conversation, even took like a whole new level, took our relationship to a whole new level, and things have felt so good. And I want you to see this hard moment, these bumps in the relationship, instead of things that reasons why you should step back and close. I want you to see them as portals to take your relationship to a new level. If you do it from the heart, if you apply, if you tap into your needs, if you express what you want, if you apply all these things that I teach in my courses, you know, if you are really talking from that place of embodying healthy feminine and masculine, you get to have what you want in your relationship. I wish I knew this before. I wish I knew this before. It would have changed a lot, you know? But yeah, so that's our latest example about this.
I think even if you know it before, though, I think it's like you wouldn't have been ready. Like there's just like, there's different levels of this, like knowing something and then being able to apply it, and then being able to apply it in a relationship, and like there's just so many levels of this that the more practice you can get when you're dating, the more practice you can get with yourself, like that kind of stuff comes first, and then you can be in a place where you attract a relationship where that kind of thing can exist. But it's really hard because, yeah, even for me, before this relationship, I wouldn't have been able to access a lot of the communication, a lot of the leadership, and a lot of the other things, just because I wasn't there personally. So
yeah,
all the lessons, this ends up becoming a healing modality in itself. Like this relationship, it becomes a mirror. It becomes in all sorts of ways the initiation for that information to actually be felt.
Yeah. So to summarize, to wrap it up.
Wrap it up. I'm gonna take a nap.
We take a nap.
I need a nap.
Yeah, he's doing his breathwork certification, and baby's tired. So to summarize, polarity, the fact that you are the masculine or the feminine pole in your relationship does not mean that you're always there. You can always, there is this dance between a feminine and masculine within yourself and in the relationship, right? You as a masculine pole, here's baby. Oh, careful. Here's baby.
We got another one.
So, you as a masculine, be careful with the table, babe. It's okay. You can receive. You can be vulnerable. Right. Actually, the vulnerability, if you're the masculine in your relationship, the vulnerability as the masculine will create safety for the feminine. for the feminine to trust you and surrender. It's such an important piece. And I think this is one, like, well, earlier you were touching on this, babe, about the, as men, you know, being vulnerable or receiving, it's like where it feels hard for men. But I really want to see that invitation and to tap into that. Vulnerability will create a lot of safety in your relationship. And it's a dance, and always, it doesn't have to be like, the balance is not 50-50. It's usually, you have to find what feels good for you and what feels expansive to your relationship, and be very patient, because this is not the paradigm that is taught in society. We're taught very different things.
You're unlearning
Exactly.
ancestral I mean, like, it's
Generational,
pretty deep trauma and wounds. And
exactly. So bring a lot of compassion, and remember that your partner wants to give you everything. Like, remember that if you're the masculine, your feminine partner wants to feel safe, and if you, as the feminine, I want you to remember that your man wants to be trusted. So if you come from that, that is gonna help you a lot in your relationship. And how do you want to close, babe?
Yeah, I think closing for me is just the recognition of duality with everything. So all of us have all this energy within us. So you can access that and be assumptive that other people can access that in the most divine ways. But it takes work. So be willing to put in the work, be willing to be triggered, be willing to be misunderstood, be willing to be in uncomfortable conversations and situations, and a lot can change when you have willingness. And dogs.
Be willing to play, be willing to be uncomfortable.
Dog.
Yeah.
Dog.
Okay, my loves, thank you for being here. We love you so much. See you in next month. Bye bye.
She's so good too. She's just sitting here.
I know, and
She's
she's
just chilling.
amazing.
She's just
How do we
chilling.
close this one, Nikki?
I'm just chilling.